Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to be talking about the rise and fall of Mars Hill, which apparently was sponsored this entire time by a very gay affirming therapy company. So, this kind of combines two things that we're very much against here at Evangelical Dark Web, sodomy and therapy culture. And both of these were financial, patrons of the anti Mark Driscoll podcast, which is a very fascinating development or realization that was pointed out by Megan Basham on Sunday. So we're going to dive into this, and it is pretty bad. It is pretty blatant. But first, I want to let you know Evangelical Dark Web is a Christian news gathering and commentary ministry. You can like and subscribe to the channel. That's the least you can do. But we also have a Patreon-like system that you can support us and get extra content. And we have a free newsletter as well. And this is a tweet by Megan Basham that really got the conversation going. She says, I'm going to gently suggest that if you are an adult man who says you are traumatized by a pastor saying you either get on the bus or you're going to get run over, you are too soft. It may not have been right for the pastor to say it, but it is a bit much to say that you're traumatized by another adult man telling you such. Men should be tougher than that. Now, she posted that and got a lot of, you know, pushback from the liberals in the comment section, but didn't get ratioed for it, obviously. But still, it's very interesting. People are accusing her of, historic revisionism of the Mark Driscoll situation. But what's very fascinating about the Mark Driscoll situation is, yeah, here's the thing about Mark Driscoll. I think he made some mistakes, but he did apologize for them. This is a public video that's still live on YouTube. It's on the Mars Hill channel. It's still up there, him apologizing and publicly repenting over it. But I do think that he had the right and was probably wise to not to as amicably as possible separate from the elders that he was working with because they did not fundamentally get along. And there's another side to the story that Mark Driscoll has not really been public about. If Mark Driscoll was the bloviator that a lot of people make him out to be, he would probably be milking what was done to him at Mars Hill for victim currency, because that is a major currency in our day. But instead, you have a lot of people claiming spiritual trauma, spiritual abuse, and the only real abuse going on is the abuse of language and the misuse of English words that used to have meaning. And I agree with Megan Basham's point that we're framing disagreement as trauma, as abuse. And then she, furthermore adds to this point saying, oh, it just hit me that a key advertiser in the Mars Hill episodes is some kind of therapy group. So it makes sense. Why wouldn't they frame this as a simple disagreement or people being angry with each other, but trauma? Could be a coincidence, but pretty funny if so. And again, this podcast was produced by Christianity Today, and they are hardcore liberal publication. They are not orthodox within Christianity at all. They're a very gay affirming outlet, and they're run by Russell Moore, who goes to church with Gavin Ortland, by the way, and serves on church leadership with him. I should really you know, really specify while I'm name dropping people that they're on church leadership together. And then this was a major outlet that promoted the Kamala Evangelicals for Kamala group until the very end. I think they cowered away from doing an endorsement, but still, they did. They also called Pete Buttigieg a Christian. They've done that in the past. That is the type of outlet that Christianity Today is, and that's the Pete Buttigieg thing is a real good example of what they were doing while they were publishing this podcast series on Mark Driscoll. So, with that said, here comes the part about the therapy group. And she points out that this is a very gay affirming therapy company called Better Help. And she kind of exposes this. and this is something that she posted, benefits of gay therapy. And this is a page on BetterHelp's website, or at least their mobile website. And then just more of this minority stress, which is apparently a thing if you're gay. And then if you go on their website, uh, I mean, this is the landing page on their website. Let's click on individual. Help match you to the right therapist. Okay, we are in the United States. This is question one, and we're going to answer it with that. And then question two, what is your gender identity? And yes, it has all, it has all two of them, and then a lot of other things going on. I would submit that gender identity is not a real thing. But let's, for the sake of it, identify as non-binary because we don't want to have a personality. How old are you? Let's identify as 14 years old. So, okay, we get transferred. No, let's actually not do that. Uh, all right. United States. We're not going to identify as a minor this time. We're going to still go for non-binary without a personality. We're going to just say we're 18 years old. And how do we identify? Fourth question is our about sexual preference. So, and as you can see, it has a lot. Let's say we're questioning, and would you like a therapist who specializes in these issues? Wow, that was the lead magnet, or that's how we're being funneled here. So let's just say we're a man. Do we still get the treatment here? Yeah. Straight. Okay, then it goes into relationship status. So there's a little bit of AI game trickery going on here, but at the end of the day, that is an extremely gay affirming algorithm, and that's not something a Christian business should be advertising. If you claim to be a Christian, you cannot be advertising crap like that. Because first of all, sodomy is a sin. Second of all, I don't, therapy is Freudian. It really is. I don't actually think it helps people. I think it's a grift because if you are paid by the hour, you're not going to come up with solutions. You're going to drag things out. And there's another thing that if you're also paid by the hour and the person could just get tired of you, because that's most of the time, it's how therapy usually ends is one person gets sick of it. Uh, you know, Look at The Sopranos. That's a show about therapy not working on someone for 8 or 7 seasons or whatever. It didn't help Tony Soprano. It just made him worse because he was a sociopath. So stuff like that. I don't believe that it works. And I think it's a replacement for spiritual counsel. And that's one of the major concerns that people should have about it. And obviously, BetterHelp is a huge example of this. Uh, they also sponsor the Holy Post podcast. So, again, they are milking liberal Christianity for leads, for that easy money. And then she points out some other sponsors as well, but I mostly want to just focus on this. And one thing that's true about uh, Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, and I believe it's kind of what JD Hall said, because JD Hall posted something about the Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, and he talked about how it was the rise and fall of the rise and fall of Mars Hill. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was a pretty pithy way to put it, because this is really about Mark Driscoll's enemies. Like, the guy could not have asked for better enemies. I mean, with the exception of the John MacArthur crowd, Mark Driscoll is hated by the right people. He's hated by the people at Christianity Today. He's hated by the people that are super liberal. Uh, and he's hated by, I don't think he's really hated by conservatives, but he's hated by some people in the John MacArthur crowd that are hyper cessationist. And Mark Driscoll, unfortunately, is very clownish about that. He's not very good at articulating the cessationism debate, because he frames cessationism as uh, hyper cessationalism, which would teach that the Holy Spirit isn't active in miracles either. So that's a little bit different than the sign gift season. So with that said, uh, he's largely been vindicated by his accusers being flaming liberals. Like, is anyone who was on the who was his elder at Mars Hill that was accusing him, did any of those people not go woke? Did any of the people behind Christianity Today's podcast, did they not go woke? Did they not peddle liberalism? And the answer to that is probably 100% no. So Mark Driscoll kind of resurged himself, and he basically had the Christianity Today give him the platform to do it because they have no credibility. And if they're attacking you, you must be doing something right. So he couldn't have asked for a better enemy to help basically give him relevancy again. And to some degree, he did a lot of solid preaching to get back into relevance as well. I think his Elijah series was mostly pretty good. It's topical, but it's also pretty good. So here's the thing. I don't agree with everything that Mark Driscoll said, but based on really what's available with the whole Mars Hill thing, I don't see how people say he's permanently disqualified, and I don't see how people, think that he's a false teacher. I just don't. I don't think he's I don't think he's super great on doctrine, but he seems to have some level of practical wisdom that is lacking in a lot of better theological circles. So that's my rather nuanced take on the issue, but it's always good in some ways to judge a man by, not in some ways, it is generally good to judge a man by his enemies. And Mark Driscoll has, to his credit, made the right enemies with very few exceptions. So that's all I got for today. My name is Ray, it's the Evangelical Dark Web. If you like this kind of content, do also subscribe to the channel, to the podcast. If you are new, have a blessed day, stay based, Christ is King, and we will catch you on the next one.